A new compliance bureaucracy was born out of the COVID-19 pandemic in Ontario, and because of the secrecy surrounding its conduct and creation, you've probably never heard of this elusive regional regulatory hub. A few months ago, while listening to a Cobourg Town Council meeting, I stumbled upon the last few minutes where most people would probably already have tuned out, but what I heard concerned me. Listen here for yourself to what Town Clerk Brent Larmer had to say during an administrative update that included the town's participation in an elusive Eastern regulatory hub.
I would like to just say is that the bylaw department for Cobourg is an active participant in the Eastern Regional Regulatory Hub, which is a group of individuals from different ministries, agencies, and authorities. They come together every 6 weeks, and our manager sits on that to discuss top of mind issues and commonalities and how regulatory enforcement services delivered. I think this is a good step the province has done in order to get a lot of like-minded municipal law enforcement agencies together to discuss issues. So the issues right now to date that we've been part of is building public trust in response to protests, misinformation, anti-government and sentiment, addressing sector challenges, so involving movement of excess containment soil and rideshare services. So delivering vape products to minors is a big one as well too, which we're working the province to assist with that. Unlicensed businesses, so involving illegal online sales of food and tobacco, as well as home-based businesses. And then the sharing information portion, receiving referrals, tips related to labor trafficking, and then heads up alerts for officer safety and best practices. And then in regards to program delivery through discussions with the ministries, it's involving creation of new compliance programs, policies, improving compliance outcomes using behavioral insights. So this whole program or whole participation has the ability to share knowledge, resources, access training, and build capacity for collaboration. And we feel, and as discussed with the manager, this is a real valuable asset to the town to be part of this group.
There's a lot to unpack there, but most interestingly, when I went to search for information about this Eastern Regulatory Hub, my search came up empty. That's when I decided to file an access to information request, something that I know our viewers love to support at rebelinvestigates.com because it upholds accountability journalism and true journalistic research. So what is this mysterious bureaucracy that meets every 6 weeks, which Cobourg bylaw manager actively participates in to discuss regulatory enforcement? Well, unelected Cobourg clerk Brent Larmer may think that it's a good thing to get like-minded municipal law enforcement agencies together. The issues that they discuss, like building public trust in response to protests, misinformation, and anti-government sentiment, should concern the public if the last few years were any indication of how absolute power corrupts absolutely. This initiative already sounds a lot like the building of an insider ministry of truth, similar to that depicted in Orwell's 1984 dystopian novel detailing a world governed by surveillance, propaganda, and censorship. This regional regulatory hub will decide what is true, what is appropriate, what is fact, what is fiction, and who is good and who to trust, and what new compliance programs are being developed, what policies are being implemented to improve those compliance outcomes using behavioral insights, otherwise known as behavioral science, which often blur the lines with psychological operations. Now, I finally have the ATIP response to share with you. The backgrounder details that when the provincial government declared an emergency in March 2020, Regulatory Compliance Ontario, or RCO, became an enterprise hub to coordinate efforts across ministries and agencies under the similarly Orwellian named Reopening Ontario Act. It actually just restricted businesses from fully reopening. RCO became this collaboration, and it led to inter-ministry protocols and safety training for inspectors. The multi-ministry teams, MMT campaigns, effectively addressed shared problems through coordinated solutions. Building on MMT's success, RCO is now exploring further collaboration opportunities through RRHs. Those are regional regulatory hubs. Discussions with agency partners about lessons learned and future collaboration were overwhelmingly positive, they say. This pilot project will adopt a Malcolm Sparrow risk-based regulator approach that moves away from a program-centric approach that is grounded in evaluation, public development, planning, and operational management. No, because that would be too logical. Instead, the focus is problem-centric to find important problems, find solutions to shared problems, and promote ongoing communication among regulated agencies. The main purpose is to support the collaboration of regulators to promote more efficient and effective action compliance. The objective section looks like it has been updated from whatever was written originally under the confidential stamp. which makes sense because this particular document was noted as withheld according to the Index of Records, but they didn't explicitly redact any pages. They made it look like it was all released when in fact it wasn't. Seems like the Regulatory Compliance Hub is conducting some sneaky business. This appears even more true when looking under the confidentiality section. It says that the hub will be done by email, but then transferred over to a SharePoint platform, and it's all top secret. It will not be shared outside of the hub without express permission from the authoring ministry or agency the clause specifies. The ministries involved are broad in scope. 18 of the 29 Ontario ministries participate in this, from the Ministry of Health to the Ministry of the Environment, Long-Term Care, Education, colleges and universities, Labour and Immigration, Finance, and the list goes on. On a slideshow presentation created by Regulatory Compliance Ontario, all of the key players are outlined on the second slide, from PHUs, which are public health units, to police, boards, bylaw, and all of the various ministries again. It's intended to create a one Ontario approach within a modern regulator community. Apparently, RCO is a nimble organization that can build networks across government quickly to achieve results that drive deliverables that benefit all regulatory ministries, not you, the little guy, but the ministries that you pay for. RCO has partnered with the Ontario Police College to ensure training is of high quality, defensible, and consistent. Some of the development projects include handling evidence, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, search warrants, and investigations versus inspections. The collaboration was born out of a COVID-19 campaign to strengthen community response by coordinating with police, public health, and bylaw. Apparently, in March 2020, the provincial emergency saw public health, bylaw, and provincial regulatory resources strained. The RCO ran campaigns with public health units based on locally identified areas of concern, which were then shared across ministries and agency partners and police to focus on safety awareness and compliance assistance. Compliance information was then shared back to public health units. Some goals and outcomes include enhancing the regulated community's understanding of doing business with government and attain regulatory mandates while promoting consistent compliance approaches. Some shared problems include unlicensed business, sharing of information, and diversity of compliance tools, i.e. administrative monetary penalties and promotion/standards in rural areas. According to a January 30th meeting slideshow of the Eastern region, which includes Peterborough, Kawartha, Ottawa, Prince Edward County, Kingston, etc., some top-of-mind issues included public sector challenges, unlicensed businesses, and bad actors, sharing information and program delivery challenges. A subhead of public trust includes protests that impact regulatory delivery because we can't have people opposed to the red tape of the increasingly bloated bureaucracy, misinformation that threatens said bureaucracy, anti-government sentiment, I think that speaks for itself, mental health and officer safety with increasing threatening behavior. A subhead of program delivery challenges includes training, retention, and recruitment with the creation of a new compliance program. For example, inspectorate in a box, policies, decision trees, and improving compliance outcomes using behavioral insights. A list of 2024 regulatory compliance speakers includes those heavily vested, both emotionally and financially, in the climate hysteria space, including Graham Russell, Campbell Gemmell, World Bank consultant advising governments on investment, climate, and business environment, Florentine Blanc, and 2 Lithuanian ministers. According to initial communication, an email from project lead, Lina Simarusti, was sent to Coburg clerk Brent Larmer and Coburg bylaw manager Mark on November 3rd, 2023. She says that she received their contacts from the local health unit before inviting them onto a call to discuss their participation in this Eastern regulatory hub. To note, Lina has over a decade of bureaucratic experience and is a staunch supporter of equity and inclusion. She belongs to AMAPCEO, the Association of Management, Administrative, and Professional Crown Employees of Ontario, a union, where she partakes in the 2022 created Equity Committee. Specifically, she comprises the LGBTQ+ caucus. That same year, she was Senior Project and Program Coordinator at the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs, where she brought home a cushy $100,000. According to additional email communication from Lina, avian influenza was already a topic of discussion in March 2023 among the RCO. RCO is continuing to work with, and then it details various ministries, including a poultry specialist, regional veterinarian consultant, infectious disease experts, infection prevention and control, and MTO, that's the Ministry of Transportation Ontario, to determine PPE for officer safety and to minimize the potential of field officers being a vector of infection of avian flu, part of a recap email from Lena Reeds. In terms of compliance, one way that the RCO utilized what they call joint investigations with other agencies was by using local bylaw officers to track down the location of an HBFP, that's a home-based food premise, by placing an order through their website. This sneaky, elusive bureaucracy lacks transparency and accountability. This is an example of more centralized authority dictating what is true and appropriate, evolving from a pandemic-born initiative into a permanent mechanism of enforcing compliance with top-down orders, with minimal, if any, public oversight. The implementation of compliance programs using behavioral insights should raise public interest concern where unchecked bureaucracies utilize psychological operation and manipulation as a tool to control and facilitate their own agendas. Hold on to your thinking caps. It sounds like you're going to need them. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. If you appreciate our accountability journalism, then you can consider supporting it at rebelinvestigates.com. That website is dedicated exclusively to our exclusive accountability journalism and access to information requests. So please make sure to bookmark it, follow along, share, and support at rebelinvestigates.com.